Continuing on with the presentation, we are at estimate time. Estimating time is more of an art than it is a science. It is based on so many factors, many of which can be hard to predict. Generally, for each activity and task, there are two types of measurements. Elapsed time, this is how long it will take for the task or activity to be completed, and work time. This is how long it will take for you or others to do the work. Work time can often be reduced if additional people are available to help on the project. Most projects are planned with some type of contingency time built in. This can be added in as a percentage of time for each activity or some additional time allotted for each deliverable. Build the schedule. With all of the above information on hand, it is now possible to build the schedule. The project schedule can now be moved into a Gantt chart, spreadsheet, or scheduling software, which will be visibly correlating the milestones, activity, and tasks each deliverable may need its own schedule. You can use whatever app you like, but you will be required to complete a Gantt chart as part of the project. Back to the planning phase steps. We already started working on the initiating phase document and the student project plan document. We will be finalizing those next week, and I'll be reviewing those with each group to make sure you have all the correct information. So when you created your project plan, you created a list of resources already on hand. The list you will create now will focus on what other resources you need and how you will acquire them. Resources are the things needed for the project, including money, materials, space, and equipment. Planning the resources is a critical step to ensure that everything can be acquired for the project. If not, this is time to make revisions to the plan. For each resource, you must determine how it will be acquired. This could be purchased or something that you borrow, something that your school or team members already have. Resources and acquisition. Resource planning means considering all the things needed to complete the project. This might be person, hours, money, physical space, supplies, and equipment. When considering resources, it is useful to pair them up with the schedule. When do you need each specific resource and for how long? Is acquiring the resource an activity that should be added to the task list? Will the resource require you to allow elapsed time in your schedule? If you have some pressing deadlines, can you trade those off for time, for money in the budget? While you consider your resources, time, people, supplies, and funds, will you also be determining where or how you will get what you need? And that's called procurement. What is risk? What is risk management? I think our presentation this week was timely with our guest speaker, Linda. When she talked about risk, she was really considering the worst case scenarios for each milestone or activity. So looking at your schedule, depending on the scope of the project, and then planning how to negate or address the risk. So we want to neutralize that risk. We want to cancel it and nullify it. We don't want it to creep up on us at the end. Risk may be related to project processes as well as the day-to-day activity to complete the project. How likely is it to happen? This can be characterized as a percentage or a ratio. It can be 50-50 chance, or as Linda used, high, medium, low. However, considering assigning a value will be part of determining how many resources should be put toward averting the negative event or outcome. Which parts of the project might be affected by the negative event? Assessing the implications of the negative event is also helpful when determining how important it is to avoid. A negative event may have an impact in one or more areas of the project. Resources, so looking at any combination of people, equipment, funding, or other resources. The timing, when are the deliverables or the entire project need to be completed. Scope, completing and delivering all the items named in the original scope. And quality, how well each deliverable or the whole project meets its goals. In the planning phase, it is critical to think about the things that might go wrong. When potential risks are identified, the possibility of them occurring can be reduced, or at least their impact may be minimized. It may be challenging to predict and anticipate what might go wrong before actually doing the work, but try to imagine you are doing the project now and what could possibly affect the success of your project, such as issues with time or other resources, a change in scope, going over budget, something's not working, and so forth. Using a quality and risk manager should lead to the development of the plan. So consider what project manager roles you're going to have on your team. Once the risk level and areas of impact have been assessed, each risk can be paired with a corresponding plan to address it. This may mean identifying what can be done to reduce the possibility and/or what can be done to reduce the impact of the negative event if it occurs. Sometimes, as part of the risk management plan, there are resources allotted for contingency planning, setting aside time, funds, and other resources to be used only for the unplanned events. Planning for risk. This also involves considering, again, the worst case scenario for each milestone or activity, depending on the scope of your project, and then planning how to negate or address the risk. Each part of the planning phase informs the other. As you list milestones, connect activities, and tasks, you may need to revisit the schedule and even return to the defining section of the student project to make changes. Remember, this is an iterative process. It's part of your monitoring and controlling for the project. Think about having a monitoring and controlling project manager on your team. Monitoring and controlling are ongoing check-ins on both the process itself as well as the progress towards your goal. You may want to use this at every step of your project. So an iterative process means repeating. So you might have to go back to a previous step or activity. Think about assigning, again, different project managers to your team. Everybody should have some type of accountability on your project. So you may have the main project manager, you're going to have a monitoring and controlling, you're going to have a risk and quality manager. Make sure these are signed in your project planning document. So I will update the assignments for this week. And next week we'll be working on teams and doing exercises to really help create that dynamic, interactive team engagement, and how important it is to have a team that is working together and communicating right from the beginning of your project. So we only have actually 5 more weeks left. 4 of those will be in class working on our project. You will need to probably spend some time outside of class connecting with each other to finish up the project. Remember, this is a group process. It's not one person doing all the work, but you're distributing the work equally between each member of the group. So let me know if you have any questions or concerns. We'll be going over a few of the tools that are available in the groups that I already created online through Blackboard. So remember to finish up the last chapter for reading. That is documentation and archiving. Have a great weekend. See you next week.